Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Is the appointed hour 7:30? This is Thursday, September 24th, 2015. This is Planning Board meeting. I have an agenda that's been published. Do we have a second?
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Great. First up is the continued public hearing for site plan administrative review for the Scituate Middle School, 460 First Parish Road, 606 Chief Justice Cushing Highway. And maybe we could ask the proponent.
John Richardson, Doran Whittier Architects. Excuse me.
Don Walter, also with Doran Whittier.
Jennifer Johnson, Light Engineering.
All right. I guess let's just start, if you have got any updates from the last meeting, maybe you could just do a quick overview of that.
Two things.
Sure. So there's a couple of plan changes that have been addressed since the last time we met with you. Both are related to the driveway. Sorry. I know this is tough to see because it's in black and white, but so the first thing that we looked at was this, the access that's being provided off Chief Justice Cushing Highway. Something that we had discussed with you before is maybe widening this drive just a little bit to provide a third lane so that you would have 2 lanes for egress and then 1 lane for coming into the site up to a point about 400 feet into the development. So this configuration allows for that, and actually it uses area that's already being used for parking, that kind of gravelly shoulder. It's already kind of a degraded area, so it formalizes that with curbing and pavement. You know, it's a pretty minor change actually, but it does allow for much better use and as far as exiting the site. So you have 2 lanes that would come over onto the right-hand side, allowing for left and right out onto 3A. If there's any questions related to that, I can address.
And that doesn't change the curb cut on 3A.
Exactly. We wanted to look for a solution that wouldn't touch the curb cut, so we wouldn't have to go work with Mass Highway. So it was already wide enough. It does, however, require a little bit of reconfiguration of the existing island, the landscaped island. It just shifts it closer to the south, you can see here. But that's about it. It can still be a landscaped island.
So you did that portion, and have you, on another sheet, have you addressed onto First Parish Road, or is that next?
That already had 2 lanes for egress, so we had already provided that there. There were no other issues raised for the First Parish exit.
I think I talked about it the last time that we were here, that it really should be, somebody taking a right, and that it can be all for sugared in the morning and in the afternoon with people leaving. It's a very tough left coming out of First Parish Road onto the highway, not Route 3A, but onto First Parish.
Right. So we do provide a left and a right-hand turn lane. I'm not sure what else.
Okay, well, would you put an island, something that would really delineate?
Between the 2.
Yes. So you have 1 way in, and then 2 lanes,
2 lanes leaving.
2 lanes leaving.
Well, there's an island there now.
There
Yeah,
is, okay.
I'm just thinking about what it looks like now with the town hall left also being there, just playing with that, but.
Yeah, pictures covering it, unfortunately.
Yeah, I know, exactly. I wasn't. Right. We were proposing, yeah, because there was such a wide expanse of pavement, we were trying to formalize the exit to provide the 2 egress lanes. So that is the design that.
So you'll have 2 lanes exiting that will be well-marked with arrows, which goes which way?
Yes, definitely
Okay.
with striping, signage.
And have you determined about the access around what now is Town Hall? Is that going to be one way all the way around, or what?
So we've actually discussed a lot of options, and this did come up
Right,
with.
we
the
discussed
traffic.
that with the Traffic Rules and Regulation Committee. And, first, the use of that is outside the scope of this project. But in terms, I think, of the recommendation of Niche and their traffic engineer, it's really up to the town, but it'd be fine to use the traditional, we talked with the Rules and Regulations Committee, since we make them both one way. I think they had done a diagram of that. Keep the front of Town Hall in its traditional direction, because the parking is already angled to go with that, and then make the back of Town Hall go from the high school side to the middle school side.
Okay, all right.
So their comment was to make them both one way, which our engineer endorsed.
With traffic control signs, with signage and
For
striping.
signage, yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's what we talked about last time.
Yeah.
If I remember right, yeah.
And also, too, did you reconfigure further out by the high school that mess?
Yes,
Yes, we
I did.
I knew you
I
had
can
something
say
else.
I had
obviously.
something for you.
Oh, good.
Spin this around. All right. So again, I know this is tough to see, but we heard you. We saw that you're completely right. When you're coming up here, you're ending up right in the middle of the island. So what we're proposing to do is realign the island, shifting it in. And now it'll be aligned with the curb all the way around, which makes sense. It also allowed us to bring in this parking area. So it will also be in alignment with the rest of the parking on that side of the site. And we are proposing to keep the handicap spaces and 5 other parking spaces, 5 standard spaces closest to the entrance to the school. But by eliminating 9 spaces, we're allowing a drop-off, a curbside drop-off for about 3 cars, give or take. So then you can still have that curbside for safety, while keeping a through lane for parents that might be parking or pulling through, or just looking even to turn around. So,
We also have some signage to make it more clear.
exactly. So when we spoke with our traffic engineer, one of his recommendations was to pull some signage way back here. So you know what you're approaching, you know you want to go right for a drop-off or continue straight to get to the parking in the rear of the site.
All right. And then just one last thing. It has to do with traffic. You had mentioned at the last meeting that you are putting some type of an area in front of the school that emergency vehicles would be able to traverse, but in order to leave, they would have to back up, and it had to do with the canopy?
There is a reinforced turf lane for emergency vehicles that runs along the front of the new school.
Yes. But would they be able to continue out past the front door and into the circle?
Yeah, no, they would not. I think
Why?
Because the canopy and there's a mounding of earth, and then there's the vernal pool, so the 3 components pretty much create a barrier. What we did do is, based on conversations with the fire department, so we extended that and reorganized the science area a little bit so that that lane would continue all the way across A wing and B wing. Originally, it only covered A wing, and there was a gap. But now, it will be able to go all the way across B wing if that's necessary. And it can reach the main entrance and C wing from the bus, from the car drop-off.
Okay, my concern is having safety vehicles back up out of the site.
Yeah, the courtyard too. I mean, it's not designed to be regularly used. We don't need the-
I understand, but all it takes is one instance, and what if you telescope down the canopy, that it wasn't as long?
I think we would have.
Yeah, I
Sure.
mean, the purpose of the canopy is to reach out and grab the pedestrians when they get dropped off to come into the building and it's covered.
Do you have, can you just put up a
we have the large.
drawing or something to
Yeah. They want to do
make
the
sure
close-
we're oriented here?
Bring it up. We're gonna have to hold it up though. Please.
You have a splice, right?
Yeah.
Is that in here or?
Sorry, John.
No.
It's okay. You can- I can hold it.
I'll hold it. So it's dashed here, but the canopy extends out this far. And as Don's saying, the front entrance is actually recessed, and we're limited in our footprint, and at this point, our footprint is fixed with the MSBA. The administration wing sticks out in front, so as you're dropping off, you actually can't see the front door. So the extension of the canopy is important, not only to provide a little bit of protection as students are dropped off, but to kind of announce that entry and make it clear where it is located. And then we have a raised berm here, and then the vernal pool. In general, we've worked hard with conservation to provide a mowed area right up against the school, but to naturalize it as quickly as possible as part of the kind of enhancement of the boundaries of the vernal pool. So we're trying to limit our development south of the school.
So where would this safety,
It's dashed in here. It actually is the boundary. What this doesn't show is we have a pedestrian path that will be paved that will denote the edge, so the vehicles can, if they do have to use it, will know where the edge is.
Grass meeting.
and how far does it go in front
It
of the...
goes all the way here now. We've redesigned this to allow a vehicle to go this far. So we have complete coverage between the vehicle. These bollards are removable. A fire vehicle could drive up onto the plaza, and if necessary, drive all the way there.
It seems to me in the case of an emergency and needing to do that, which would be infrequent, certainly, that backing out would be monitored by fire department personnel, staff, whatever. It wouldn't be an uncontrolled maneuver. It wouldn't be an unsupervised maneuver. You know, the people driving the vehicle would be closely coordinating with somebody on the ground, signaling them, that sort of thing. So admittedly, it's a little awkward to do that, but I can't imagine that it would be truly unsafe.
It should never be used. It's a
Right.
fully sprinkled building. For a fire to get out of control to the point where you need to drive a truck over here, we really be a catastrophic event.
Correct.
Now, if it's just an emergency response, you know, the ambulance, et cetera, response, it
Would come to the front door.
or possibly
Mhm.
through the courtyard.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Laura?
Well, I think one of the things that's happened between the last meeting and now was the traffic rules and regulations meeting. And I was not there, but I understand there was discussion about an emergency access where the pedestrian walkway is going up to Cedarwood Road, and it would only be for emergency vehicles. There would be bollards at the top, so you could not drive a car there, you know, at all. And that was something the chief wanted. He wanted yellow striping on all of the fire lanes. And then I think the other, the other issue was, Bill, do you remember if there were any other issues besides that?
We also talked about access from First Parish, an event that there was an emergency during drop-off, and all the cars are queued, coming in and out on those 3 lanes. How can a vehicle get there or to the back of the high school? So what we've done is we had a granite curb with sidewalk along here, and we're going to change that just to be a Cape Cod berm. Like it is right now, it's actually a little decayed, but right now it's a Cape Cod berm. So if there was an emergency, it did happen during pickup, vehicles would be able to drive right over that. A Cape Cod berm is just a slightly sloped asphalt edge. So they could pull out of the way and provide access for an emergency vehicle to get right up the drive, then even into the back if necessary. I think that was the other concern.
Well, actually, the other issue that I was kind of groping for was to just evaluate at some point what's happening with the driveway behind the town hall when all these changes occur. And that's been generally considered not part of the scope of this project, but you were talking about it earlier, you know, it might not be like a very extensive issue in terms of investment to just put up some signage, make sure the paving is, you know, is adequate, and, you know, some stop signs. I know this stop sign is part of, you know,
We
is part
can
of your
certainly
purview.
provide signage. I guess the only other thing is that the school project, I don't think should be dictating where signage is on town hall property. We would need direction from town hall. We can provide a recommendation as to what our traffic engineer feels about the traffic flow, but ultimately, we need town hall to tell us how they want the signage in the drive to go.
That's pretty much the way it was, the traffic rules, just to
Yeah.
come back up. It's really the elephant in the room.
Yeah.
You're working all around it, but the middle piece, which clearly has an impact or is
Yes.
being impacted, has to be looked at. But, I mean, there's a myriad of issues. What's the long term, and what, you know, do I engineer for a long term, and do I engineer for an interim? Or do I manage to see how it has to work?
By the time the school's open, public safety will have relocated, right? Or very close to the same time. So there'll be a different intensity and a different traffic
Yep.
flow potentially anyway. So we're going to have to kind of see how everything gels together.
It may be, maybe signage up, initial signage, and then wait and see as to how the best way to handle the rest of it is.
Yeah, because
In terms of public safety, and keep me relatively honest back there, they looked at all of the conditions in terms of whether the traffic was queuing up, whether they had access for emergency vehicles, what was the access, and what did it look like. And I think that the recommendation that's in front of us now makes that a workable situation. Is that a fair assessment?
I think so. I haven't had an opportunity to review the changes.
Yeah.
And it hasn't, and traffic rules hasn't seen it since that point too.
Yeah.
But the points that Laura brought up as far as what the concerns were, I think those are really the primary concerns. In looking to see how they address that center court is definitely a big piece of it, because as you said, that's an integral part of how all this flow is going to work.
But as I envisioned the conversation and what the result would be, this appears to solve all of the issues that we talked about.
And we could promise traffic rules and regulations that once we get settled, mainly this high school drop-off area, that we would circulate a revised final paving plan so that both police and fire could review it one more time.
So I think that was one of the main items that occurred. The other one was that the Conservation Commission closed their public hearing. So I think their take on it is that the protection of the vernal pool is being adequately addressed. And the consulting engineer had signed off on the stormwater before the last meeting. So I think most of the issues are really been dealt with.
Okay, good. And comments from anybody on the board? Or have you adequately addressed what we've seen so far?
I think, I'm comfortable with what I've seen.
Okay. Let me just ask the audience here if there are any comments on the issues that we've been discussing today. I mean, we've gotten a lot of feedback already on the past, during the past discussions, but this is a little bit new. People haven't heard it before, so if there are any comments, we would take it now. Yes.
Greg Morse, 167 Tack Factory Pond Drive. Just a question, backing out the emergency access across the front of the building, how far does the emergency apparatus have to back up?
I don't know if you can see that. They would have to back up as far as they went in.
100 feet, 200 feet? What's
Well,
the
Thank you for that,
distance?
Yogi.
I mean, I don't know if they would go all the way. It depends on,
Say they went all the way, how far is the
that was
distance?
probably 250 feet. There's a curb cut back here, and then this is the path.
Okay.
I would emphasize, we're not required to provide 360-degree access to the building. We're doing this as a benefit to the project.
Okay. Any other comments? Okay.
All right. Do you want me to make a motion to close the public hearing? I move that we close the public hearing on this Scituate Middle School project.
We have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Let's move on to findings of fact.
Everyone got findings of fact,
I have a number of...
email, and then tonight I got a couple of additional changes, so
Is this what I'm reading?
this is one of the new ones that says 5 PM on it. Sure.
This is a new one.
Timestamp.
This is 5 PM, right on the front, yeah.
All right, thank you, sir.
That's public safety.
And this is just the findings of fact.
Oh, yeah, this is the public
This
safety
is,
building.
Laura, this is public safety.
It's the wrong,
Good catch.
Yeah,
All right. Is this the correct one?
Oh, so it is this latest one that
Okay.
was sitting here.
All right.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
So it doesn't say 5
It doesn't
PM.
say 5 PM.
All right.
Got it.
Are we ready?
We're ready.
Thank you. I move to make the following findings of fact. 1, the applicant submitted a site plan entitled Scituate Middle School, Scituate, Mass., permitting documents dated July 1, 2015, by Jennifer Johnson, P.E., of Niche Engineering for Dorr and Whittier Architects, Incorporated. 2, the new middle school was supported by a broad spectrum of town officials, a vote of a special town meeting, and a special election. A vote of December 3rd, 2014 special town meeting authorized the town to borrow up to $75 million for designing, construction, and equipping a middle school and high school auditorium and renovating high school space, the school to have an anticipated life of 50 years. This became effective after a vote of 2,933 in favor and 2,616 opposed for a Proposition 2.5 override at a special election on January 10th, 2015. According to Superintendent John McCarthy, the net cost to the town, not accounting for state funding, would be approximately $54 million, while the cost to renovate the existing Gates School would have been $45 million. 3, the property is approximately 70 acres and includes the Scituate High School, parking areas, tennis and basketball courts, running track, skate park, playing fields, the Cushing School, and some wooded land. It is located in the residential R1 zoning district, the Water Resource Protection District, its Zone 2 sub-district, and the Wireless Communication Overlay District. According to the elevations, this is number 4, and site plan, the average height of the Scituate Middle School will be no greater than 35 feet, and the maximum height no greater than 40 feet to the ridge. It meets the height requirements for a residential building and also meets the required front, side, and rear setbacks for the residence district. 5, the middle school was reviewed by the Design Review Committee on July 14 and August 11. Their recommendations were addressed and/or incorporated in the design. 6, property abutting 606 Chief Justice Cushing Highway includes land under the care and custody of the Conservation Commission, the Town Hall, the current fire and police stations, and several neighborhoods of single-family homes. No traffic will be routed to the Cedarwood Road neighborhood. The adjoining premises will be protected against any detrimental or offensive uses of the site. The site plan meets the standard of review of the Scituate zoning bylaw, Section 770.6, Paragraph A. 7, the Scituate zoning bylaw, Section 760.6, Table of Minimum Parking Requirements, requires 1 parking space for every 200 square feet of gross floor area for an exempt educational use. The requirement for the auditorium, based on 850 seats, would be 283. Based on 130,000 square feet of building area, this would result in a parking requirement of 1,133 spaces for the new middle school and auditorium. With the addition of the middle school, there will be an additional 80 staff at the site based on standard 1.5 times factor. This would result in the need for an additional 120 parking spaces. After construction, there will be a net increase of 162 parking spaces, which exceeds the estimate needed. While it only serves grades 7 and 8, there are currently 86 spaces at the Gates Intermediate School. Parking appears to be sufficient for the proposed use. Bus and car traffic from the middle and high schools will be separated. The public driveway for the middle school will enter from First Parish Road, and the driveway for the high school from Chief Justice Cushing Highway. All bus traffic for both schools will use the Chief Justice Cushing entrance. There will be room for 16 buses to queue at the high school at the start and end of the school day. Entrances at Chief Justice Cushing Highway and First Parish Road will be redesigned to clearly channel left and right-hand turn vehicles into appropriate lanes. There will be a new stacking lane for vehicles exiting the high school. Chief Justice Cushing Highway and First Parish Road is a major signalized intersection on a state highway. Residents have expressed concern about children crossing in this location. The town has met with State Representative Jim Cantwell and transportation officials to determine what improvements should be pursued. The site plan meets the standard of review of the Scituate zoning bylaw, section 77.6B and C, for traffic safety, ease of access, pedestrian safety, minimizing glare, and access for service and emergency vehicles. 8, the property is on town sewer. The plans have been reviewed by the Fire Department and DPW Water Division. The site plan meets the standard of review of Scituate zoning bylaw, section 770.6D, for adequacy of methods of waste disposal, adequacy of water supply, and firefighting facilities on the site. 9, the drainage design by Niche Engineering was based on 7 stormwater watershed areas discharging to 4 design points. Post-development peak discharge volumes and rates will not exceed pre-development volume and rates. The site plan and stormwater report were reviewed by the Planning Board's consulting engineer, Josh Bose, P.E. of Merrill Associates. The plans were modified in response to his comments. The area where construction will occur is in the Water Resource Protection District and Zone 2 Subdistrict, and within the buffer to a vernal pool. Because of the proximity to these critical areas, the stormwater system was designed to protect water quality by reducing total suspended solids by at least 90% as required by the zoning bylaw. It will infiltrate water through a low-impact development approach, including 6 bioretention basins, including a 24-inch media filter, deep sump and hooded catch basins, catch basin inserts, and 3 underground infiltration chambers, which will treat runoff and maximize infiltration to groundwater. Stone cobble will be used to surface seating areas near the front of the building, and grasscrete will be used in the emergency vehicle access. Within the Water Resource Protection District, slopes greater than 4:1 cannot be created except if associated with new road construction. There is a slope of approximately 3:1 northeast of the walkway from the high school to Cedarwood Road. This is necessary to meet accessibility requirements because of the approximate 650-foot length of the walkway. The applicant is willing to accept conditions on the storage of salt, chemical, de-icing components, and petroleum products, and a prohibition on vehicle washing on the site. The site plan meets the standard of Scituate zoning bylaw, section 770.6E and F, for adequacy of stormwater management and control of toxic and hazardous materials in the Zone 2 Subdistrict and Water Resource Protection District. 10, the site will be screened by existing trees on the north, east, and west side. 3 bike racks will be provided for 21 bicycles in total. There will be numerous pedestrian crossings across the driveways.
Oh, that should be and, sorry, not amendment.
And through parking areas. An erosion and sedimentation control plan will be used, and topsoil will be reused on the site. The site plan meets the standards of Scituate zoning bylaw, section 770.6 G, H, and I. 11, the proposed public parking areas are adequately buffered and shaded. There is a minimum of 1 shade per 10 spaces of a caliper of at least 2.5 inches DBH as required by the zoning bylaw. Outdoor lighting is no higher than 20 feet tall and is specified to contain cutoff fixtures to minimize glare and light spillover. The site plan meets the standards of Scituate zoning bylaw, section 770.6 I and J. 12, the site plan entitled Scituate Middle School, Scituate, Mass., permitting set dated July 29th, 2015, with revisions through August 21, 2015, by Jennifer Johnson, P.E. of Niche Engineering for Dorr and Whittier Architects, Inc., meets the requirements of the Town of Scituate zoning bylaw, section 770.6, site plan review standards of review to a degree consistent with reasonable use of the site for the purpose permitted by the regulations of the district in which the land is located.
We would just note that the net increase in parking spaces is actually reduced by 9 now, given the changes at the high school drop-off area.
Number 7.
Number 7.
153.
Okay.
And, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, so say that again?
On number 7,
Yes.
the parking spaces, the net increase of 162 should now be 153 since we made that drop-off there.
Okay.
And, I'm sorry, the number of seats in the auditorium is going to be 750.
Okay, 750. I had 2 other quick things on my list. One is this the latest? We've got some updated drawings here, so is August 21st the latest revision?
Yeah, I was going to ask that also. Should we have a better date?
I guess that's a great question, because we've been issuing kind of a draft sketches to get, to make sure that they were acceptable. And we are planning to do sheets, they'll be incorporated into the bid set in its entirety. So it depends on how you'd like us to handle that. I mean, we could give you the dates for these draft drawings, which is what we've done for public safety. But in its entirety.
I would say just the latest date.
Okay,
right?
as long as we have the last date.
Yeah.
Is that
If
today?
something was changed
Sure, today.
today, okay. Great. Through September 24th.
And then I just have one other question now, and then I'll
Yeah, no,
give it to you,
that's,
okay?
good.
Under 10, we say there's 21 bicycle parking spaces here. Is that really all we're giving? For a school, 21 is, I guess I hadn't picked up on that, and I see it in here. And I'm surprised it's so low.
Probably 40, but I have to check.
I only found 3 bike racks, but there could be more in there. They were a little hard to find because I think they're only on the landscape plans.
Yes, because that's going to specify stuff.
So is there a way you can,
I can follow up, I can't tell you right now.
okay. Well, it's probably not a fact that we can find, if we don't know the number, right? We can indicate that there will be bike racks provided, right? But the number is still,
We know it's a minimum of 3.
right?
Yeah, really.
21 bicycle
Well, that
parking
was
spaces
three
doesn't sound like
racks.
enough.
Yeah, I believe for lead, we're trying to provide 5% of the population.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to change that to bike racks will be provided, period.
Right. Is that a number we could put in there for 5% of the school
That
population?
in there.
Why don't we do that?
Okay.
5% of middle school.
5% of the middle school population projected, which is 7.
710.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I'm sorry, Rob, go ahead.
No, don't be, it's fine. A couple of things. One is the height of the building, 4 on page 2. The height of the, as I understand it, the fly loft area of the auditorium is greater than 40 feet, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and did the stair at the main entrance end up being higher than 40 feet as well? A sort of tower stair next to the main entrance?
Yeah, I had brought those plans at our previous meetings.
Right, no, I think we've seen them.
What's the highest number?
It's like 50 feet at the fly loft.
50 feet.
Yeah, but I would, having said that, I want to just comment that there's a provision for that in the zoning bylaws, 620.2, height projections, chimneys, spires, towers, and other projections not used for human occupancy, whether constituting separate structures or attached to buildings, may be constructed above the height limitations hereinafter established. So I think both of these projections, quote unquote, would clearly fall into that category. They're not for human habitation. The fly loft is for stage equipment and the management of stage equipment and accoutrements.
So is it appropriate to still say it's not greater than 40 feet to the ridge?
Well, there are no ridges since it's a flat roof. It's
Well, to the
cornice
flat roof.
or gravel stop or roof edge,
Right.
more
Is
more
that-
like.
So is that less than 40 feet?
I would call that roof edge.
Okay, call it the roof edge.
And that stair that Bob mentioned at the front is for access to the roof.
Right, and so again, that's not really for human habitation.
Correct.
Right.
So it'll say the maximum height no greater than 40 feet to the roof edge.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then the other question I had was more in the wording of this than anything else. On page 4, two-thirds of the way down, within the Water Resource Protection District, slopes greater than 4 to 1, et cetera. Laura, what was the intent of the last couple of sentences of that about the Cedarwood Road access having a slope of 3 to 1?
Well, the slope is steeper than what's normally allowed, so rather than have people say, oh, you know, they didn't even realize that there was this slope being created and so on, I think it's better to call it out and to say that, you know this slope is greater, but this is the reason why that's being done.
Is it greater now? Is this an existing slope
No.
at the access point, or one that's being created as part of the?
This is,
Design
I believe
approach.
it's one that's being created. It's a
Okay.
pretty steep area, but I think it's being made steeper.
Okay,
No.
then.
I'm
then
seeing
my-
a shaking
my
head,
puzzle-
so-
my puzzle-
Yeah.
I guess there's a disagreement on that.
It is, I don't know, it is very steep under the existing condition of on
Yeah,
that
right,
side.
right.
It's steep, and I think the only change you make is making it a little wider, right?
Actually, the walkway we're making flatter, which is why there's some off-grading associated with it.
Yeah, but it's
So
flatter,
the
but it's
off-grading,
wider.
that's- Exactly, and it's
Yeah.
wider.
It's not the part immediately adjacent to the walkway, it's the part as you go back into the woods, you've got to keep making
catch
that
the
slope
Okay.
steep so that
So
you can grade it
doing
in.
grade.
So the reason you're steepening the slope in that area is to allow another area to become more accessible, and that's why you're referencing accessibility requirements.
Right.
And
Okay,
if we were to lower that grade, we'd have to disturb more trees.
yeah, no, I have no problem
Yeah, I think
doing
that's,
that. I just didn't understand what was being said here, so now I do.
I think there's been a lot of discussion about trying to make sure this project is held to the same standards as other projects. And sometimes these standards are very difficult to meet, and additional trees do have to be taken down and so on. But in this case, it's for accessibility reasons, so it's a whole different kind of reason than, is the case in most
Right, okay.
cases.
I
So no
withdraw my
changes?
objection. No, I think it's fine, I just didn't understand it, now I do.
You got anything?
No.
Okay, so on the amendments we just made,
I'll second the amendment.
you got a second?
I second it.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, I need a motion to
Okay.
close the findings of fact, right?
Okay, oh,
We just did that, I
you,
thought.
you voted them and you voted
Okay, so we don't need to do anything else there.
You vote the findings of fact and the amendments?
Yeah, we just did
Okay.
it.
Yep.
Okay. I move to approve the site plan for the Scituate Middle School consisting of permitting documents entitled Scituate Public Safety,
Okay,
wait a minute. You've got the wrong,
We don't have that other document.
we don't have that other piece.
okay, hang on. Just hang on.
We're just going to deal with facts today.
It's just the first.
It's,
Yeah, it's stapled on the back of the, just keep going.
all right. Yeah, this is what you want.
Oh, I
I move
see,
to
yeah.
approve the site plan for the Scituate Middle
Turn
School.
the page.
Titled Scituate Public Safety.
No, it's
Okay,
on the
well,
same document
okay,
you just
that's
went through.
okay,
It's
just,
the next page.
I understand
Okay.
that.
Just
Just the second
just
line
put
down.
Scituate Middle School, that's all.
Oh, I see that.
Okay. I move to approve the site plan for the Scituate Middle School consisting of permitting documents entitled Scituate Middle School, including all sheets listed on the attachment, stamped and signed by Jennifer L. Johnson, P.E. of Niche Engineering for Dorr and Whittier Architects, Inc., subject to the following conditions. 1, the project will conform to the approved plans listed above for the Scituate Middle School. The stormwater report and responses to the comments from the town's peer review engineer. If the building footprint is modified, the applicant's engineer shall certify the adequacy of the stormwater management system for the additional impervious surface area. Any further changes from these plans, other than to incorporate the conditions below, will require approval of the planning board. 2, 6 reduced sets of 11 by 17 prints and PDFs shall be provided to the planning board prior to the pre-construction conference for distribution to town departments and for the files. 3, the building shall meet all requirements of the Massachusetts State Building Code. 4, materials and details of construction shall meet all requirements of the DPW, Board of Health, Fire Department, Conservation Commission, Building Department, and Commission on Disabilities. Where this site plan administrative review requires approval, permitting, or licensing from any local, state, or federal agency. Such required approval, permitting, or licensing is deemed a condition of the Town of Scituate Planning Board's approval of this site. All necessary permits and approvals must be received prior to construction. 5, based on the recommendations of the Traffic Impact and Access Study, the applicant should continue to explore improvements to the driveway behind Town Hall to determine if improvements are warranted in the interest of traffic safety. 6, prior to scheduling the pre-construction conference, the following changes shall be made to the plan. A, locations for snow storage, and may we not have another winter like last, shall be approved by the Conservation Commission and DPW and shown on the plan. B, trees shall be located a minimum of 10 feet from utility lines to avoid problems with roots. C, topsoil will be reused on the site to the greatest extent possible. Additional topsoil shall be used as required to loam and seed disturbed areas. D, improvements to the pedestrian access to Cedarwood Road, such as an appropriate hardening or similar materials at the width necessary to support a fire truck, shall be added. Breakaway or removable bollards shall be installed at the Cedarwood Road entrance to prevent access by other vehicles,
Just stop after vehicles.
period. 7, prior to scheduling the pre-construction conference, the following notes shall be added to the plan. A, gasoline, chemical abrasives used for removal of snow and ice on roads, commercial fertilizers, fuel oil, and other hazardous materials shall be stored in the smallest quantities possible and in above-ground tanks or containment designed and operated as required by Scituate zoning bylaws, section 520.6. The use of sodium chloride is not permitted by the long-term pollution prevention plan. B, as recommended by the Traffic Impact and Access Study, vegetation to the northeast corner of First Parish Road along the existing high school driveway shall be kept trim to maximize the sight distance available. C, any required approval of changes to curb cuts on Chief Justice Cushing Highway off First Parish Road must be obtained from Mass DOT and the Scituate DPW respectively prior to the start of construction. D, the DPW shall be notified prior to the start of work within the right-of-way of First Parish Road. Any work within this right-of-way shall be coordinated with the DPW other than as required by this work, there shall be no parking or idling vehicles on First Parish Road during construction. Per the request of the fire chief, yellow pavement markings shall be used to designate all fire lanes. F, all light fixtures shall be shielded to prevent light trespass onto adjacent properties. The lighting in the parking lots shall be programmable as to on and off and intensity. Construction. 8, a pre-construction conference will be required prior to the start of construction, including the town's consulting engineer, a representative of the DPW and the Conservation and Natural Resource Officer, the site contractor, and the town planner. 9, prior to scheduling the pre-construction conference, the applicant shall meet with the fire chief to determine final locations for fire safety, signage, and a check to cover inspections by the consulting engineer, a schedule of construction activities, and the final SWPPP shall be given to the town planner. 10, the existing entrance off First Parish Road shall be used as the construction entrance. 11, stormwater control during construction shall be maintained according to long-term pollution prevention plan and stormwater operation and maintenance plan dated July 1, 2015, and the stormwater pollution prevention plan. All clearing and earth-moving operations shall only occur while erosion and sedimentation control measures are in place. Water and sediment cannot be discharged into the subsurface infiltration areas and bioretention areas until the site is fully stabilized. 12, the town planner is to be notified when erosion control measures are in place, when construction begins, and when construction is completed. If deemed necessary by the town planner in consultation with the DPW engineering staff and the Conservation and Natural Resource Officer, temporary sedimentation basins, check dams, silt socks, and/or noise and dust control may be required in addition to the erosion control measures shown on the plan. All erosion control measures shall remain until the town planner and Conservation and Natural Resource Officer determine that the danger of erosion or sedimentation no longer exists. 13, construction shall proceed according to the applicant's construction phasing plans. 14, construction work shall not begin prior to 7 a.m. weekdays and 8 a.m. on Saturday and shall cease no later than 7 p.m. or sunset, whichever is earlier. No construction shall take place on Sunday or legal/federal holidays. 15, the long-term pollution prevention plan and stormwater operation and maintenance plan dated July 1, 2015 are attached to and part of this approval. Prior to application for a certificate of occupancy, a copy of a contract for annual required inspection and maintenance of stormwater structures shall be provided to the planning department. It is recommended that this maintenance be included in the school department's annual budget. 16, an as-built plan stamped by a registered surveyor and registered professional engineer who designed the system shall be submitted to the planning board within 10 days of completion of the work. This plan shall include the construction conditions of the stormwater management system, grading, house, and driveway. As the as-built...
Take out the word house.
Yeah, okay. Grading and driveway. The as-built plan must be submitted prior to obtaining a certificate of completion for the stormwater permit, and it must be found in compliance with the approved permit. All grading and landscaping must be complete prior to the as-built submittal.
Okay. Do we have any comments on any of the conditions?
I had 2.
Go ahead, shoot.
Number 5,
Yes.
okay. This may say exactly what, my understanding was you're going to provide alternatives that we were going to evaluate, the town was going to evaluate, as opposed to you evaluating.
So how would you like that to read?
I think the applicant should provide alternative improvements to the traffic flow behind it in front of Town Hall to determine improvements are warranted in the interest of traffic safety.
Provide recommended?
Well, it's outside their scope. That's the elephant in the room.
Provide alternatives for improvements?
Yeah. And then under 6D, do we want to spell out that Scituate would never become an access?
It's already in the findings of fact. Do you need it in this? That it would never be?
I like never be.
Okay.
We had a question about 62. When we discussed with traffic rules and regulations, it was about making that accessible to a police cruiser. We can do a fire truck, but that's going to require reinforcing all the subsurface along the entire length of that driveway. And we were a little concerned that that might make it into a driveway.
Yeah,
If I've got 360-degree access for a fire truck, I'm not sure that I need an additional one.
the intent was just to
Emergency
go
access.
with whatever traffic rules had
Right, so we discussed a police cruiser.
So it's,
Yeah, I'm not sure if the fire has additional concern with being able to access that way. At the time, it was talking about $1 million where it would be a cruiser.
I mean, it seems like a really steep slope for a big vehicle like a fire truck.
The,
so it should say police cruiser,
What number is that?
or just emergency,
60, I believe.
emergency vehicles?
Just Scituate Road.
Yeah.
Okay.
I could live with the rest of it.
Okay. Just, if we could go to, under construction, number 9, it just sounded like that was just strangely worded,
Yeah.
right? It should say applicant shall, maybe colon, meet with the fire chief.
I could put that as like A, and then
Right.
B, provide a check.
Provide a check to cover consulting engineer, provide a schedule
and the
of
final
construction
slip,
activities, and
to the town planner, or to the planning department.
Can we just add to that, the cover inspection would be by the applicant?
Right.
You don't want to,
well, I think
wanna
the whole
provide that
thing
check?
is the applicant shall, right? And then we're going to list those items, sort of one after the other.
Oh, I'm sorry, the check is by the applicant.
Yeah.
I read it wrong.
Under number 11, just the last sentence, water and sediment shall not instead of cannot. And then the only other one I had was item 15. The last sentence seems to be, I'm not sure, it's a condition of this approval that the applicant do all of the maintenance that's required. I don't know what us recommending that it be included in the maintenance budget really accomplishes. If it's not included in the maintenance budget, that doesn't mean we're waiving your responsibility, I guess.
Yeah, I was just trying to make it abundantly clear that this would be something that had to be included in an annual budget somewhere. I think it's really easy for people to have, great intentions about doing everything they're supposed to do, but when it comes time to actually think about it, put it in their budget, it might not actually happen.
Well, maybe it should say it is a responsibility of the applicant to include maintenance, something like
That sounds
that.
good.
It's not a recommendation, it's sort of a responsibility, right?
Yeah. So it's the responsibility of the applicant to include.
It just seems like
Include this maintenance in their annual budget.
Steve, may I admit,
yes.
Can I ask a question about that? What if we were a private entity? Would that one be included?
yes.
No, actually, it wouldn't. We would still expect you to do the same thing, which is do the maintenance.
Additional on appropriation on an annual budget for which
No, it's not conditional on the budget, so.
Well, we would ask for a check at the, for the first year's worth of maintenance.
I understand that, but I don't think the language says that. It's trying to compel the town to do something. Which
Okay.
I don't think would be.
I think I'm fine with taking it out. We are compelling the school department to do something here, because this is a condition of their permit, so,
I understand that.
yeah. So whether they include it in their budget or not, they still have the responsibility to do it.
Right.
Okay, so we're just going to take that language.
Yeah, I would be okay with that.
Yeah,
What do
so
you-
would I, yeah.
Is that good?
To just the last sentence, or?
Yeah.
I was afraid that might be pushing the envelope a little bit.
Well, yeah, you were right.
Gotta try.
Steve,
Yes.
getting back to 6D,
6D.
improvements to pedestrian access or pedestrian-only access to Cedarwood Road. That would preclude vehicle traffic.
Okay, except you are going to allow emergency vehicles on there.
Right.
Yeah. Any other changes?
A motion to move is amended?
But can I actually ask about item 16? The Scituate construction project, the civil engineer will produce an affidavit of general conformance to the design documents. But the contractor is going to produce as-built drawings, so we can't have our design engineer stamp contractor's drawings.
Okay, it just says it's stamped by a registered surveyor. It doesn't say
Who said who
who's.
designed the system?
Right. Oh, okay. Okay.
Originally, they certainly can be responsible to deliver you a stamped survey. It won't be by the design.
Right. I'll review it.
So the engineer of record will or will not review the as-bills.
We'll review them, but we'll not stamp them.
That's right. And I will stamp an affidavit stating that the as-built has been produced and demonstrates conformance to the construction documents.
Okay.
Just don't do the survey.
So what's the final change there, to take out who designed the system?
Yes.
So it should say, and reviewed by, is that what you want?
Yeah, maybe it would say stamped by a registered surveyor and reviewed by.
The registered professional engineer who designed the system.
Yeah.
Is that appropriate?
I'm sorry, I had a question also about condition 14 and the anti-construction activities on any given day. I'm not sure if this was meant to reference exterior work or interior work, but certainly in the winter, we will have work being done after sunset.
Sure.
I can guarantee that. We're going to work around the school schedule, so the contractor needs to start after class is dismissed.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Well, that will probably depend then on how noisy it is.
Yeah, that's why I asked if you're referencing disruptive or exterior work. We may have work done after 7 p.m. inside the building.
Yeah, I mean, if an electrician's there or something like that kind of
As
stuff.
well, again, to coordinate and not disturb the school functions. But we could certainly, I mean, if you wanted to restrict noisy or exterior work.
If you made it exterior, that would solve the problem.
That was something.
Okay,
Well, I
so
think
just-
noisy interior also, right?
Sure.
Just in case you haven't closed all the walls up. Right.
A quiet worker with a boombox?
Jackhammering slabs might not be a good idea.
We could call it exterior or excessive interior noise.
Excessive
noisy.
Concrete coating after sunset, we're doing that in December,
Yeah.
after sunset.
Most definitely, right?
try it again.
Could I follow up on a question on that? Is it the intent to work through the night?
Not through the night, but again, we're going to work on the school schedule.
Right.
So we do what we call second shift work, which will start at 3 p.m.
Finish at 11?
7.
I go to 10, so
Second shift, yeah.
So there won't be any construction work from 11 to 7, 11 PM to 7 AM.
I think that's fine. One of the first parts, though, is doing some saw cutting inside what's now on the first floor, which is was formerly the early education center, will be the art room. Saw cutting concrete is noisy.
Mm-hmm.
And we will be doing it after school to not disturb school, and probably in January.
But we'll finish long before anybody decides they want to go to bed who lives around there, right? Okay.
I don't think it'll be that noisy outside.
Okay. Did you get all that,
So
Laura?
it's exterior construction work or excessively noisy interior work
Mm-hmm.
shall not begin.
Gotcha.
Was there a change in the end time?
Yeah, 11 PM, I think.
11 PM, yeah.
too noisy. Probably 10 o'clock. When we're doing that, there might be 2 or 3 days in that.
Okay, so she'll cease no later than 10 PM? 11
No,
PM?
no.
So I
So,
would,
yeah, okay, that's,
all right.
so this is the non-noisy, non-exterior stuff. Will go no longer than 10 PM. Is that right? Is that what we're saying?
For what we're noisy.
Okay, so other work won't go beyond 10 PM, that could be, that's not noisy and it's interior. I mean, why would anybody care?
Yeah, the reason we're doing it at second shift is because it's noisy and we have to do it after school. So maybe 5 times out of the 600 days in the schedule.
So how do we want this to read? Exterior construction work or excessively noisy interior work shall not begin prior to 7 AM weekdays, and so on. Do we need to talk about
And
any
we'll end,
kind of restriction
And
on
if
other
it-
work, or just leave it alone?
and we'll end no later than 10 o'clock at night for interior work.
All right.
You
I
might
think we
have
have two different thoughts going on
Yeah,
here.
you might have
Yeah.
So one you're saying is that the noisy stuff won't start until school is over, but it will finish when?
10 PM.
So you're going to do noisy stuff up to 10 PM.
Probably 4 or 5 days of that, when we're saw cutting slab.
within the building.
I think inside.
Inside the building.
Yeah.
Well, so 10 PM is probably right then, right?
So after this, all of this, we could say noisy interior work may continue until 10 PM.
Yes.
Exterior work ends at 7, or at sunset.
Right.
Yeah, or
You do.
excessively
have-
noisy. Okay.
It's going to be what it's going to be.
Okay, so exterior
Well,
construction work.
You would blanket it, Laura, by saying that interior work can continue until 10 PM. Whether it's noisy or not, it can continue until 10 PM.
Agreed.
Right.
Mhm.
Right.
And then the
Okay, that's going to be reworded a little bit from the
Yeah.
way it is now.
I think we all get it.
no work on legal or federal holidays. Sometimes we do have contractors do work on, say, state holidays, for precisely the reason that school is not in session.
Mhm. Like Columbus Day or,
Yeah.
you know,
Kind of makes sense.
Why, can we cover this with like an exception rule?
Yeah,
Like,
these are kind of definitive, I just wanted to point out.
If-
We're
if
talking
such-
about a few exceptions.
right, well, I think maybe we could leave it up to sort of coordination after the fact here, if you're going to, if you need to do work outside the envelope we've already identified, right?
Do you want to just take out that last sentence so that it's more flexible? Given that this is a school and they're trying to avoid working during school hours and Sundays and holidays are not school hours?
I think that's a very good idea, actually, yeah.
You know, and keep in mind that the school itself is so isolated. There really is nothing
That close.
that close.
Cedarwood's the closest, probably, Harbor Way, but still quite far. Yeah, I'd be very happy to take out the last sentence.
So we eliminate no construction shall take place on Sunday or legal federal holidays.
Right.
I'm all right with that.
It's gone.
Yeah, it's going to make it easier to work on a
Good.
school
Okay.
building.
We're done. Anything else? Okay. Now we'll wait for Bill to make a motion.
Move as further modified to approve.
A second?
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. We're done.
Thank you.
Thank you, Don.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Go forth and multiply.
Maybe we take a 2-minute break before we get...
Yeah, I can.
Yes.
5 minutes?
Shall we vote to go out of session here?
Move that we take a 5-minute break.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we're on break. Let's go back on the record here. It's a little past 8:30, but this is the continued public hearing, site plan administrative review for the Scituate Public Safety Complex, 800 Chief Justice Cushing Highway and Manlot Road. And we have the applicant representatives in front of us. If you could reintroduce yourselves.
Change seats for this one. Don Walter, with your architect.
Jennifer Johnson with Niche Engineering.
John Diaz with GPI.
Okay. Maybe you can give us whatever update there's been since the last meeting?
Really?
Anything new?
Sorry. At the last meeting, we discussed
The change in the driveway.
configuration, the berm, the increased landscaping, and it seemed like your primary concern remaining was the traffic, which was going to be discussed the next Monday. And also the continuing conservation, which we've closed as well.
On the septic system?
The septic system has been reviewed by the Board of Health. We have received their comments and we'll be working to address them. We're also meeting with them on Monday night, so it'll be resolved as well.
Okay.
And as a point of clarification, we did bring an enlarged topo plan, because I know there was concern about which way sites were slightly sloping, so.
Oh,
Good.
I mean, let's take a look at that, yeah.
Yes, please.
Wheeler drainage.
Sure. So you can see this is our site down here right at the corner of 3A and Manlot Road. And as we discussed, it's kind of isolated from the greater parcel. You can really see that here with these contours. This is a high point here. This is a 129 contour. It slopes down to 124 at the highway, and then back toward the eastern side of the Ellis parcel down to 119. And you can see there's actually, this is the other wetland that's located way outside of the project and down that back slope. There's another high point located just outside of our limit of work that is also pushing water towards the site and then back down Manlot Road. So you can see this, the limit of work line here does include the berm. And right along that limit of work line is the swale that we had discussed, where any water coming down the back side of the berm and water coming from the ridge line towards the site will be pushed towards the site drainage system in that swale.
So the red
What's the red thing?
broken line
Red.
is the ridge line.
That's right, the red is the watershed divide, and the red arrows indicate the flow of water either away from the site or in towards the site.
So I'm looking at your red ridge line there. Why doesn't it go to the high point?
All the way to the high point, because we
Yeah.
were looking at specifically what flows into the site. There's actually another break right here. The 122 is split. So from this high point, which is probably 122 and a half or so, this is what's coming into the site. So we took a perpendicular up from that. Water that's coming down this high point will come straight to the roadway and not be intercepted into the site. That's limited to what's hitting this area here.
So it doesn't climb that slight ridge. It just goes straight towards the highway.
Right. I mean, with more definition, maybe it would be here or so, but
Yeah.
generally. Yeah, 1 foot contour is actually pretty good for such a big area.
Okay, I'm having trouble following your contour line straight down. That's a ridge line right there?
So this is kind of an interim ridge line. It's probably more apt to describe it as a watershed boundary, because if you were going high point to high point, I see what you're saying. You're thinking it should be pushed further.
Yeah, I'm thinking it should run to the high point and the water's,
Right. If water that's flowing in this direction is being intercepted in this low point here, this 122, which is flowing this way. And we were focused on water that's flowing in this 122 towards the site.
doesn't water flow?
This way, right. You can kind of picture it as a cup, like the contour this way here. It creates like a swale or a channel that pushes water along the right-of-way. And how there's usually like a roadside swale or something like that.
And there's
That's
a
what's
crown where
created.
you have the high point there in that swale.
That's right, that's right here. Yep, this is breaking toward the north versus what's breaking toward the intersection.
Right.
And there is some existing catch basins. There's one right here. See, that's what you're seeing.
I think part of your concern too is you want to see that horizontal line continue horizontally, right? Along
Yeah, I'm just thinking if that's the high point, if it's sort of
This is
a
secondary.
peak, it's going to
Right.
drain in all
Secondary.
directions,
It does
right?
both. The primary line is across the top as you're suggesting. As Jennifer said, this is more of a secondary little ridge, just trying to show what would flow towards
Into
the parcel.
Right.
So a raindrop that falls on one side of the line stays on that side of the line.
Right.
Whether
what's
it's
going
on
here
our
is
side or
outside.
on the other side.
That's right.
Because the land moves up and down, right there, that spot?
Right here?
Or close to it.
There's
And then-
a little.
Okay, that's what I was trying to
kind of like a
understand, it
mini
didn't
ridge
look like
running
it
down
there.
there.
Right.
Okay,
where
and that's the current natural boundary.
This is the existing
Yeah, okay.
condition, that's right.
you can see the contour line wiggles down just a little bit where that ridge line goes towards it, wiggles down towards the bottom of the sheet. So that indicates that's the high point of that particular contour line, right in that area. So, yeah, I think I see it.
So it's kind of running down and a
Mhm.
little bit towards the site when you get to the bottom.
That's right.
And so, so the area that we see headed towards the site itself, inside the red ridge line, that's all been accounted for in terms of stormwater collection into the existing stormwater systems?
That's right.
Okay. And so we won't end up with pools and ponds of water in that area there?
Right, exactly. That's the intent of having that swale on the outside of the berm, so that you wouldn't have that.
No more than it would pool today.
Right.
Nor more importantly, will you end up increasing the possibility of that on the other side of the line where the abutters.
That's right.
It should have no effect on that other side of the line.
That's right.
Right.
Right, that's all natural boundary there.
Yeah.
Exactly, that's a separate watershed.
And then you're controlling the water on the outside of the berm.
And so all that water, before you do anything here, it all feeds to the 3A swale, so to speak, everything right now?
That's right. So all, as you said, all the water that's within this red line is what was modeled to the existing points where water's flowing, which is this culvert here that runs under 3A. And again, the wetland here. So that's what our analysis is focused on, those two existing drainage points.
Okay. So essentially, we're looking at the watershed you did the analysis on then?
That's exactly right.
Okay. Any questions?
What have I done on the other side of the road for the septic? Have I changed the grading significantly there?
No, we did a little bit of minor grading, actually. You can see it better on this other plan. The high point of the existing natural high point along the property divide between my parcel and the and a little bit of grading was required to kind of flatten the slope over the septic system. But all of the drainage is going to be collected, again, in a swale that's running along this gravel driveway to an area drain that's connected to a perforated pipe system. Initially, we had a dry well, but Merrill had asked us to take a look and making sure that we were providing maximum offset to groundwater. So by doing a perforated pipe, we were able to raise the system, still maintaining the controls. It's the same type of analysis where you're matching runoff rates and volumes.
So it drains bottom to top, and then it's collected to the right.
Okay,
To the
actually,
left.
there's covered right here for this, pushing one way.
Okay.
and then pushing here.
Got it.
Okay. Got another question on this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not on the drainage, on the driveway. Is it appropriate to go to
Yeah,
that? Or
sure.
do you want to stay on? All right. Just a thought, that driveway off of 3A that goes to the public parking was kind of represented at one point as an emergency, if you will, ingress to the site in case I've got a problem, I'm driving on 3A, I want to get my passenger or myself to an emergency, a place where I can get emergency assistance.
Actually, that's on the apparatus bay apron itself.
Okay,
What we did is
that was my question.
We created a cutout.
All right.
The apparatus
I was
bay.
going to ask if a cutout wouldn't be appropriate on that other
Right,
drive,
we
but
put
you did it
there
on the
because
apparatus bay.
if the bay doors are open, you can go right in, or you
Okay.
can go in the main entrance, and there's a triage room.
So
just off the lobby.
that's where I pull over in that circumstance.
Yeah, and that's what people will do now if they have. an
Right,
emergency.
because that's the most visible thing. You see the big
Exactly.
apparatus bay doors. Thank you, good.
And then, can you give us an update then on the traffic analysis?
Sure, how much of an update do you want? I can go through a quick presentation, or I can just answer questions if you have specific questions.
I wouldn't mind the presentation.
Since you set it up, we're going to watch it.
As long
I
as
opened
you're ready,
myself up to that one.
as long as you're ready to do that.
Now if I
Let's
can get it to
go.
work, let's give me this. All right, so again, for the record, John Diaz with GPI. We came in to look at the traffic operations and mostly look at the interface with the new site at 3A in terms of how to get the emergency vehicles in and out of the site. So we did a typical traffic study. We looked at the site at the corner of Manlock Road and 3A, the northeast corner. Did our traffic counts back in April, in the spring. Basically, you have about 15,000 vehicles a day on 3A. You have about 2,000 on Manlock Road on the easterly leg and a little more on the westerly leg, about 2,400.
That counts traffic going in both directions?
That's total traffic over 24 hours a day. In terms of the
That's you going in and coming back out?
But that counts as two trips, is my question, right?
And lunch,
Yes.
they lunch is separate.
in terms of the morning and afternoon peak hours, they were pretty close, within about 20 vehicles difference between the morning and peak hours. So you have about 1,200 vehicles during the peak hours on 3A, and you have about 160 vehicles, again, both directions, east-west on Manlock Road. On the easterly side, again, same trend, a little higher on the westerly side. So that's kind of the volumes you're looking at. Obviously,
Actually surprised.
we did the turning movement counts at the intersections. Again, we looked at the intersection Manlock Road, and we had the counts on 3A and Manlock Road itself. And And you can see the movements coming out of Manlot Road in the morning. Again, it's pretty much consistent. You got about a third going left, about a third going right, and about a third going straight through. Similarly, in the afternoon, same proportions. Coming down the eastbound side, it's a predominantly heavier left turn in the morning and a heavier right turn in the afternoon. So, and then obviously the directional flow on 3A is what you'd expect. Northbound in the morning, southbound coming back. So pretty typical of commuter traffic, what we'd expect to see out there. We looked at the crash histories at the intersection of Manlot Road. We went to both the Mass DOT website and the Scituate Police Department. So between 2010 and 2014, we had about just over 2 collisions a year. It's more important to look at the crash rate, which takes into account the volume of the intersection, not just the number. The crash rate at the intersection is about 0.36 crashes per million entering vehicles. And just for comparison with that, the statewide average is about 0.6, and the District 5, which is in Mass DOT District 5, is just under that, it's about 0.58. So in terms of how the crashes relate to other unsignalized intersections, this is what we consider a lower crash rate. Not a significant safety issue in terms of the number of crashes related to the volume of vehicles there. The other thing we did is we collected speeds both along 3A and as well as Manlot Road in the vicinity where the driveway is proposed. We use that for a couple things. We use it obviously to see how consistent it is with the posted speed, but more importantly so we can evaluate the sight lines for the driveways, how far someone can see up and down the road and how far someone on the road can see the intersections. The speeds, we look at average as well as 85th percentile speeds. Generally, the speed limits are posted in accordance with the 85th percentile speed, and you can see it's posted 50 miles an hour on 3A, and your 85ths are right in that range, 47 miles an hour. So it's pretty consistent with what's posted out there. And these were collected over a 48-hour period, an average of a 48-hour period. Manlot Road, again, it's a little higher. It's posted speed. The average speed is 30 miles an hour. The 85th is a little higher. It's 33, 34 miles an hour. But again, pretty consistent with what's posted out there for the speed limit. In terms of the sight lines, as you'd expect, up and down Route 3A, it's a straight shot there. There's really nothing that would affect sight lines once, where the driveways, trees are cleared out, obviously, but we have well over 600 feet, and your requirements for along 3A are in the 400-foot range, so we have well in excess of what we need for sight lines. Similarly, along Manlot Road, you need about 380 at the, you need about 240, and we have in the range of 380. This is the stopping sight distance. This is if a car is traveling down the road and the ball rolls out in front of you, how much reaction time you need. The second one is the intersection sight distance. This is where you're sitting in the driveway trying to look left or right. And again, the same things. What's measured out there on 3A is well in excess of both the minimum and the desirable, as is the measurements at the driveway on Manlot Road. We also looked at some other background developments that are in the area at the time we did the study. These are just plotted out over the course of the map. So here's Manlot Road where the public safety building is. Bartlett Fields development is the closest one here. You got the school relocation that was talked about tonight in the new school, and then some other developments as you go further down. Mostly on 3A, there's a small retail commercial one on County Way, and then there's about a 70-unit subdivision proposed that's outside the project area. But so all that traffic was accounted for when we looked at the future traffic volumes that would be along 3A in particular, as well as Manlot Road. So then the next challenge was to figure out what the site's going to generate for traffic. It's kind of obviously a unique site. It's not a Dunkin' Donuts. You can just look up a number and figure out what it's going to be. We really didn't concentrate on the amount of emergency calls because that's fluctuates. You can't accurately predict that. What we looked at was the staff that's going to be there. That's kind of your daily traffic that's coming in and out of there. and we talked with the police chief and fire chief, and we based it on the shift change, how many people coming out, in and out during those peak hours. So that's how we came up with the trip generation, and then we added, basically, for every staff member, we add about another 4 or 5 trips just to account for the use of the public open space there, the meeting room there. So the site's obviously not expected to generate a huge amount of traffic, about 50 vehicles in the morning, 30 entering, 19 or 20 exiting. And in the afternoon, about 40 vehicles with about 15 coming in, about 25 coming out. So we looked at where those vehicles would go between the 3 driveways. The northernmost driveway on the site is more for police use. The southern drive is more for the emergency vehicles, and then obviously and for use into the public meeting room area, the public side of the facility. So I'm sorry, this is the northern drive is the police and fire combined. This is the public access driveway, and then your access driveway off of Manlot Road. Anything coming in and off of Manlot Road, you can see the percentages of where vehicles would be expected, would be coming out and directed to 3A. Then we had a meeting last week, and we had discussed some options. You could post a no left turn sign there except for emergency vehicles type of thing if there's a concern about traffic heading east on Manlot Road. You could direct any of this site traffic back out to 3A. So in terms of the impacts to the Manlot Road, we compared, as I mentioned, we looked at a lot of background development, so that increased the traffic overall. But when you look at the additional traffic to Manlot Road associated with the site, in terms of how additional delays to the approaches and to the number of vehicles in the queue, in the morning coming westbound along the Manlot Road towards Route 3A, you're looking at about a 1.5 minute increased delay along that approach with about additional 2 vehicles in the queue. In the evening, it's a little more activity might be coming out of the site. So it's about a 3-minute delay, a little less than a 3-minute delay, and an extra vehicle, so about 3 vehicles added to that queue. Obviously, the impacts to the other side coming eastbound are less. You wouldn't with the driveway on the easterly side. It's less than 2 minutes increased delay in the morning with about another vehicle added, and less than a minute, and another vehicle in the afternoon. So this is, I apologize, I didn't have a chance to put this on the aerial, but if you can see this, this is basically corresponds to the site drive up there. The area that's in gray here is the layout of the site drive. This is the public access drive that we were talking about, so here's that, just for reference, here's that cutoff that you were just talking about. So here's your base existing edge of road for Route 3A along here. So what we're proposing at the front door, the emergency access garage doors is a signal. Is basically a traffic signal at the intersection. We've had some initial discussions with Mass DOT. You may have seen some of these newer types of, I'll call them, it's a hybrid signal. It's a little different than a traditional signal that you've seen. This one that is a picture of one at a crosswalk, but it's the same operation for an emergency vehicle. So basically you have, similar to the train application, the wigwags when you see the train coming. It's a similar operation. The signal's dark. When they press the button in the fire station, it goes to a flashing yellow, then a steady yellow arrow. And then you have the alternating wigwag flash conditions. It draws a little more attention than the normal just flashing yellow that goes to red. We've seen a lot of cases where, I'll never forget, I was at an intersection and testing the signal, and a school bus went right through. I mean, you get so attuned to seeing that flashing yellow that when it changes, you don't recognize it. So this is meant to grab your attention that something different happens when the vehicles come out.
So there's no signal happening at all normally until it's activated?
Correct.
Okay.
So we have basically the northbound traffic would be, stopped approaching the driveway, and southbound traffic stopped approaching the driveway. to allow the vehicles full access to swing out in the direction. So that's what we're proposing for the signal at the front door.
So is there one light?
There's
One-
similar, yeah, similar
one
to
stanchion
this,
kind of
there's
thing?
one stanchion,
Uh-huh.
signals on both, facing both north.
And so is there a stop line?
Yeah, we
Okay.
have a stop line
Right.
on either side of the driveway. And then we just have these supplemental signals facing the apparatus, so they know they have the access coming out. There was some discussion initially about signalizing Manlot Road as well. When the site first, when we first got involved with the project, this access drive was much closer to Manlot Road. It was about 400 feet from Manlot Road. At the time, we were concerned about the interaction of, two things, about the interaction of turning vehicles coming out and being able to stop in time, have a line of sight to see the signal at the access door. And we were also concerned about potentially, not that I think it would happen that much, but potentially queuing, someone stopped and being stopped back in the middle of the intersection, particularly if it was during the peak hour. Since then, with the revisions to the site plan, the drive has progressively moved to the north. Now we're about 600 feet away from the intersection of Manlot Road. So now as you make those turns coming out of Manlot Road, you'll be squared up nicely with this signal. So we'll put that signal on hold for now and just concentrating on the apparatus at the front door here. That's an overview of the traffic.
Great, so all of the emergency vehicles are coming out to 3A. They're not going out onto Manlot
Right,
Road.
correct. And that's primarily what the signal's there for, is to get that.
Okay, great, thank you. Any questions?
I like the signal.
Yeah.
What it does is it minimizes, I think, the use of Manlot as another cut-through getting up to 3A, another controlled intersection. I think it just would keep it back. Level of service should be right where it is now.
Yeah.
Okay. Laura, did you have any other?
Not really.
No?
No, I think you got comments on the septic system
Yep.
today. It's not really part of the planning board's
Board of Health is addressing
jurisdiction.
that,
It's, can be approved subject to their approval. The driveway was moved, the Conservation Commission closed their public hearing, the stormwater system was signed off, and there have been these, minor changes in the traffic improvements.
Okay, let me just open it up for any comments from public. Yes. Can you identify yourself?
Oh, I'm sorry, Maureen Dowd, Puritan Drive, off of Manlot Road. This stop sign, is this going to be a stop on the south side of Manlot Road? Is that going to be the stop line, or is the stop line going to be on the north side of Manlot Road, to the north?
The stop line will be north of Manlot Road as you're going north. So in other words, if you were coming westbound on Manlot Road, you'd take a right, and the signal will be there, and that's where the stop line
And you could go across, even though the light is flashing?
If the emergency vehicle lights were on Manlot Road, at the front door, yes, you could go straight across.
And coming out of Manlot, you could then turn south on
You could turn
3A?
left, correct.
Okay, and you mentioned that this is going to be emergency vehicles egress. Isn't there going to be a police egress onto Manlot Road?
The main police access, and the chief is here, is going to be out through 3A as well. I believe that's the plan.
There's still an access onto Manlot, but at the time that if those lights are being activated, that would be the primary way that we would go. And we use 3A as our primary access point for emergency traffic.
Okay, and say you had to come out onto 3A, go south, and then left onto Manlot Road for whatever emergencies in that neighborhood, how would that affect the traffic and the potential for a crash?
It would be the same as any left turn that an emergency vehicle makes anywhere else in town. I mean, the emergency vehicles are coming down with lights and sirens going. They legally have the right of way through the intersection. You're supposed to yield to them. So, we can't put a signal or control every intersection. So,
Right.
I mean, it's up to the drivers are trained on how to go approach an intersection, use caution to cross an intersection. So in case of, if they did come out, the traffic would be stopped at the driveway, they would come out, they'd go 500 or 600 feet down 3A and make a left turn, no different than if they were going 1,000 feet down 3A and making a left turn.
Unless there was a wide traffic stop for that light. blocking
That light is only going to be on at the fire station for about 10, 15 seconds to allow the vehicle, the emergency vehicle out. Other than that, well, that light isn't on.
Okay.
So-
It's just to get them out
Right.
onto the 3A. Okay.
So if there's no activity
Yeah.
coming out of it, it's free flow on 3A.
Right, I understand that, but maybe I'm not making myself clear. If an emergency vehicle comes out of the complex to head south on 3A,
Yes.
okay, the light is on, the traffic heading north on 3A is stopped. With the level of traffic, maybe 4 or 5 cars, so that they're now blocking the entrance to Manlot Road. This fire truck has to come out and go down Manlot Road because that's where the emergency is. What happens to those cars that are stopped there for the light?
One of the recommendations that was made by traffic rules to speak to that was putting signage and paint in the road that indicates not to block the intersection. So just for that, but I think as John has said too, just as in any other intersection in town, there's an opportunity that when we come up to it, it's blocked because of traffic. And we might have to wait for a couple of seconds as that traffic begins to clear northbound and we can go through. But with proper signage, which is a recommendation for traffic rules, the hope would be that that intersection wouldn't be blocked by traffic.
That's what I was saying. Where would the stop line be for that? Okay, thank you.
You may want to address, excuse me, but you may want to address the number of times there's actually going to have police coming out on an emergency basis, where you've got them deployed elsewhere and throughout the town.
I think that's a great point. Typically, police cruisers are on patrol. So, if you can address it, what are the chances of someone being at the station and being called out?
So in town, patrols have sector assignments, so short of being at the station doing a report, or if it's something larger that the chief or myself or somebody else is at the station, general patrol vehicles are going to be on the road, so they're going to be responding from somewhere within town and not necessarily the station.
So basically, it's the fire trucks that are going to be the issue.
I should point out also that we received notes both from the police chief and fire chief about setting policies with their staff to primarily use 3A and avoid using Manlot Road unless the emergency is on Manlot Road or immediately adjacent, if it's going to be the, kind of immediate adjacent neighborhood. So we've gotten both comments, written sort of commitments from both the fire chief and the police chief on that.
Again, my only concern here, I think you have adequately addressed the drainage in back of the berm, and thank you very much for that, the elevations. I'm still concerned about the width of Manlot Road, and I know that it is outside the purview and the scope of your work, but it does exist. And as a matter of fact, someone who was here this evening was in her little Camry, and some big SUV was flying in the other direction and all but killed her. She didn't have an accident, but it was close. And this isn't even a public safety vehicle. This is just people. So, again, I think that we really need to, as a town, look long and hard at this little country road that is becoming more and more increasingly busy. And it isn't just about public safety. It's about the safety of all of us. I use that road all the time, and people fly up and down it. The telephone poles are in ridiculous locations. The berm on one side is nothing but a ditch. We need to address it, and I don't know who needs to address it, but in the long term, regardless of the public safety building, that road definitely needs to be addressed. And the sooner it's addressed, the better it will be for all of us. But again, I understand that it is not in the purview of the public safety building, but it will have an impact.
Any other comments? Yes.
Andrea Hunt, 66 Manlot Road. Thank you, Ann.
she addressed exactly what's going on Manlock Road, and I could elaborate on that. But one of the questions that I had, and I'm sorry, I don't know your name.
John.
John, and you were the one that did this traffic study?
Right.
I've lived there my whole life. That road was a restricted road for weight. It was posted at both 3A and Countryway. The sign on Countryway disappeared a long, long time ago. The sign on 3A was there, and I can't really remember to tell you exactly when it disappeared. But I know it was there in the 80s and the early 90s. And there was a weight restriction on trucks coming down that road for the major fact that it is a little country road, and that where those telephone poles stick out, we've only got 16 and a half to 17 feet across. So I know that fire engines are very heavy. As they come flying down that road, even if they are mandated to have their lights and sirens on, if I'm coming up that road, I hear them coming, I know they're coming, they're 9 feet across. There's no place for me to go to get out of the way. There's no place for me to pull over. The berm that she was talking about that is now a ditch is washed out every year. As the water drains down the hill, it is completely washed out, so it's a deep ditch. On the other side of that is a high stone wall retaining ground for the cemetery. So there's no place to pull off the road, even if you had to. And that would be in a regular car. If a bus is coming up that road, kids are getting off that road, God forbid somebody should be walking on that road with somebody in a stroller when those emergency vehicles come down that road. There's no place to go. It's all over. And although the study was done with the regular cars that are going up and down the road, and I can believe and see your studies on that, nobody's bothered to look to see the fact that when the fire station is moved from its present location up to Route 3A, the access to get to parts of Countryway, Hullett Street, Hatherley School, Captain Pierce Road, they're all going to come down Manlock Road. All of those areas that are now being serviced by trucks that are coming down First Parish and onto Countryway are now going to be serviced by going down Manlock, unless the truck comes out, goes all the way down 3A, all the way back to First Parish, down First Parish and down Countryway, which certainly is going to extend its response time. And one of the main reasons for this building is to make the response time shorter for these parts of the town. So, I don't know what kind of study can be done. You've stated that you did not study how much the emergency vehicles are going to impact that road. But as I see it from somebody who's lived there my whole life, there's going to be a big impact of these vehicles coming down the road. There has to be. It's only common sense. And even if they go north and come down Booth Hill Road isn't much better than 3A. Than Manlock. They're both little tiny narrow roads. And there's no other road in between Henry Turner Bailey and First Parish to take. Arbor Way winds all the way through the neighborhood, so they're not going to use that for a fast response. So somewhere, even though it's supposedly out of the scope of this public safety complex, as Ann said, Manlock Road has got to be looked at, and looked at seriously. We have an accident waiting to happen here, and I mean a bad accident, something that is really going to cause life injuries. And as my neighbor pointed out, and you answered very nicely about the fire engines coming around and the cars possibly blocking Manlock and 3A. The other issue that we have, when you come to the end of Manlock and you're trying to cross Route 3A and continuing to the west end on Manlock, even now, where there is not any driveway, and there's not another new development that's going to be built across the street from that with more cars coming out, if you stop there, people coming down 3A, traveling south, sometimes just stop in the middle of the road and wave you to go on when you're standing at a stop sign and they have the right of way. I don't know how we can re-educate people to how they're supposed to drive, but it's a disaster.
That's a tall order.
Cars coming around everybody, they're cutting behind you on Man Lot. And if you have got emergency vehicles coming out with these lights flashing, all you're gonna need is 4 cars to back up there to block that intersection. Even if the intersection isn't blocked, and say it's at a slow time in the day and you've only got 1 car stopped there, somebody coming out onto Man Lot Road and there's no light to stop them, they're gonna think, okay, I can quickly go across the street. And as they're quickly going across 3A, that fire engine has come out of the emergency station and is taking a quick left-hand turn. It's gonna crash right into those vehicles that are going back and forth across 3A. While this light up here has stopped. That was kind of confusing. You understand what I'm saying?
I get it.
So you've got cars going back and forth this way, you've got people turning, you've got people coming in and out of the gas station, which is also on that corner. It is a nightmare. My granddaughter was 16 years old and just got her license. I had told her on the way to school or any place, you're not allowed to use Man Lot 3A. You have to go down to Countryway and go the older roads, just because of the danger. It's something, and I appreciate the studies and I appreciate all of the electronics and figuring out how fast cars are going and so forth. It doesn't really address the serious issue of how people drive at this intersection and don't know how to negotiate it when people are pulling in and out of the gas station. Now you're going to add an emergency egress to a public safety building, another light, and there's plans at the town to build a big development across the street from there. There's going to be another driveway coming in. And that you might be able to say, well, we'll look at that later down the line when that happens. But my understanding is that when you're dealing with the state and you're trying to get a light someplace, it can be up to 2 years by the time you go through the final process of getting them to make the studies and the decision to put that
Be
light
5
in.
to 10.
Now is the time that we've got to start looking at that. And I beg of you to make a recommendation to have the state take a look at seriously putting that light in. Even if the process is started now and it is done in 2 years, I can guarantee you in 2 years it's going to be a necessity. And the condition of how the vehicles are going to get to that middle section of town is a serious concern. Without doing some improvement to Man Lot Road, widening it, putting some drainage, making some gravel berms, something, where the town will wind up with a lawsuit if something isn't done. It really has to be looked at.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Maura Curran, Board of Selectmen. I wanted to thank Mrs. Hunt for bringing up those concerns and just let her know, and the rest of the folks in the room, that today we did have a meeting with Representative Cantwell, Department of Transportation, District 5 engineers, who came in not only to look at Man Lot in 3A, but First Parish and 3A, as well as Henry Turnpike. So we're looking at the whole stretch, and you're right, permitting does take a while, but we have started the process and alerted them of all the development, as well as that intersection definitely meets the requirements, the warrants that are needed to put it in. So we have started the process.
Thank you. Thanks for that input.
And just to clarify a couple of points, I mean, I agree with everything you're saying. The signal that is at the front, I'll say the front door, at the emergency signal that's proposed here, again, is about 500 feet north of Man Lot Road. That would be a queue of about 25 to 30 cars before you back up through the intersection of Man Lot Road. That signal is, like I say, it's normally free flow. It's only in operation to get the vehicle out. So you're only going to basically stop that traffic for about 10 seconds. So even when you got morning traffic going north on 3A, I don't believe you're going to ever get 25 cars queued up there for one fire truck, 1 or 2 fire trucks to come out of the fire station. So that that's what I said, when we were closer, when we were at like 400 feet with the driveway, we were concerned about that exact thing, that where those vehicles are gonna stop and that interaction, we didn't have that comfortable buffer between Manlock Road and where the apparatus would be coming out. But since it's moved that much, that was one of the reasons. And as was mentioned, the intersection does meet a warrant, and I would just caution to be careful what you wish for, because if you have a signal there, now you have 200 vehicles coming north on the west on Manlock Road in the morning. You may have 500, 800, 1,000 cars coming out there, because now it is an easier access out there. So you may get the signal there and have an easier time out of there, but you may double your traffic on Manlock Road. So just because it meets a warrant does not necessarily mean a signal has to go in. There are other things that could be looked at there to make that intersection more visible, tightening up the intersection, as you say, better defining it. Right now, it's just a big, flat, wide open area. The gas station curb cuts that are there are basically feed into the intersection. So, I'm sure as the state moves forward, they don't like putting signals in unless there's a real reason to, and a warrant isn't necessarily always the reason to. So you may want to be looking at other alternatives. And obviously, it's a bigger picture to look at what Manlock Road is, widths and curbing or whatever that kind of cross-section of that road is going to be. Again, if that road is 24 feet of pavement with, a larger road.
16 and a half to 17.
No, I'm saying if it is blown out to 24 feet or 30 feet of pavement, now you're going to have higher speeds down there, you're going to have more traffic down there. So I'm not disagreeing with you, but I am cautioning that if you build it, they will come. And the road that has 200 vehicles during the peak hour now, if there's a signal and it's a 30-foot newly paved road, it's going to have more than 200 vehicles on it. So it's a decision, that traffic is going to go where traffic goes. It's like water. It finds the easiest way to go. If you put a nice control valve at the end of that intersection, the water's going to flow that way. So it's a bigger question for the town what they want to do, and it's a bigger question than something that's going to get solved with this. The easy thing would be to put a signal there and say, okay, now there's a signal there, but that might not be the solution. So there's a lot of things that probably should be looked at that intersection, because it is a tough intersection. There's no question about that.
It's a tough intersection, and I'm certainly no expert at this. I guess that's my point, is that this needs to be studied and looked at carefully. And I would ask the town to take a look at all of Manlock Road, all the way down there, to see what they could do to alleviate some of those problems.
Well, it sounds like we have action underway here, so why don't we move on to try to address the public safety building here. Any other comments? Do we have a move to close the public hearing?
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Do we have a finding of facts?
We have finding of facts as of 5 p.m. this evening. Okay?
Okay.
All right. Email it.
Late findings of fact.
Late findings of fact. I move to make the following findings of fact. 1, the applicant submitted a site plan entitled Scituate Public Safety, Scituate, Mass., permitting documents dated July 29th, 2015, with revisions through 9/8/15 by Jennifer Johnson, P.E. of Niche Engineering for Door and Whittier Architects, Inc. Do you want me to give this to you or somebody? Number 2, the new public safety complex was supported by a broad spectrum of town officials, a vote of a special town meeting, and a special election. According to Fire Chief John Murphy, it provides better access to the West End, North Scituate and Minot in particular, and through the improved access response times for fire engines and ambulances will be significantly reduced. Response times are currently 8 minutes for the fire engines and 11 minutes for an ambulance to the furthest locations in the West End. These will be reduced to 6 minutes for both types of vehicles. Other public safety benefits include improved response times for police vehicles, combined dispatch, an emergency operations center and training room, and the potential to store both a second ambulance and forest truck for brush fires in a central location in Scituate. 3, a vote of December 3, 2014 special town meeting transferred 6 acres at Chief Justice Cushing Highway and Manlot Road from the custody of the school committee to the Board of Selectmen. This special town meeting also allocated $16,200,000 for the design, construction, and furnishing of a new public safety complex to house police, fire, and emergency operations. This became effective after a vote of 3,043 in favor and 2,494 opposed for a Proposition 2.5 override at a special election on January 10th, 2015. 4, the property is vacant land and is located in the Residence R1 zoning district, the Water Resource Protection District, its Zone 2 sub-district, and the Wireless Communication Overlay District. 5, according to the elevations and site plan, the average height of the public safety building will be no greater than 35 feet, and the maximum height no greater than 40 feet to the ridge. It meets the height requirements for a residential building and also meets the required front, side, and rear setbacks for the residence district. The property at 800 Chief Justice Cushing Highway is surrounded on 2 sides by vacant land owned by the school committee, which is currently open space. A vegetated berm will surround much of the property on these sides. On 2 other sides, it adjoins Chief Justice Cushing Highway and Manlot Road. The adjoining premises will be protected against any detrimental or offensive uses of the site. The site meets with the standard of review of a Scituate zoning bylaw, section 770.6, paragraph A. The Scituate zoning bylaw, section 760.6, table of minimum parking requirements, requires 1 parking space for every 3 occupants as determined by the state building code for places of public assembly. The maximum occupancy of the building is 80, with 27 public parking spaces required. 48 are provided, including 2 handicap spaces. 52 secure parking spaces are also provided for police and fire officers and staff, with an additional 2 handicap spaces. Parking appears to be more than sufficient for the proposed use. Residents have noted that Manlot Road is a narrow, winding road. According to Figure 4 of the traffic assessment by Riemann Pedersen, Inc., GPI, only 5% of trips to or from the public safety complex will use this road entering or exiting the site. With immediate fire and police access to Route 3A, there are many alternative routes to reach North Scituate. Both the fire and police chiefs have committed to establishing standing policies requiring their respective personnel to avoid the use of Manlot Road for emergency response unless responding to an emergency on Manlot Road or the immediate adjacent neighborhoods. The site plan meets the standard of review of Scituate zoning bylaw 770.6 B and C for traffic safety, ease of access, pedestrian safety, minimizing glare, and access for service and emergency vehicles. 7, a septic system on a separate lot is being designed to service the facility. The plans are being reviewed by the Board of Health and will be modified to meet their requirements, inclusive of the requirements of the MDEP. The plans have also been reviewed by the DPW Water Division. The site plan meets the standard of review of Scituate zoning bylaw, section 770.6D, for adequacy of methods of waste disposal, adequacy of water supply, and firefighting facilities on the site. 8, the site plan and stormwater report were reviewed by the planning board's consulting engineer, Josh Bose, P.E. of Merrill Associates. The plans were modified in response to his comments. The site is in the Water Resource Protection District and Zone 2 to a public well. The stormwater system has been designed to improve water quality by reducing total suspended solids by at least 90% as required by the zoning bylaw. Stormwater will infiltrate water through 2 gravel wetlands, a rain garden, a proprietary treatment device, and underground infiltration chambers. The applicant willing to accept conditions to protect groundwater quality related to the storage of salt, chemical de-icing compounds, and petroleum products, and a prohibition on vehicle washing on the site. The site plan meets the standard of Scituate zoning bylaw, section 770.6 E and F, for adequacy of stormwater management and control of toxic and hazardous materials in the Zone 2 sub-district and Water Resource Protection District. 8, a vegetative berm has been proposed that will surround much of the property and will partially block the view of the complex and associated activity from the nearby open space. The Conservation Commission has received a notice of intent for the project, closed their public hearing on September 16, 2015, and expects to issue orders of condition in the very near future. There will be a pedestrian crossing serving the public parking lot. An erosion and sedimentation control plan will be used. Soil will be reused on the site in the vegetated berm. The site plan meets the standards of Scituate zoning bylaw, section 770.6 G, H, and I. 10, the proposed public parking area is adequately buffered and shaded, and there is a minimum of 1 shade tree per 10 spaces of a caliber of at least 2.5 inches DBH. The dumpster is not visible from public ways or from residential areas. Outdoor lighting is no higher than 20 feet tall and is specified to contain cutoff fixtures to minimize glare and light spillover. The site plan meets the standards of Scituate bylaw, section 770.6 I and J. 11, the site plan entitled Scituate Public Safety, Scituate, Mass., permitting set dated July 29, 2015, with revisions through September 8, 2015, by Jennifer Johnson, P.E. of Niche Engineering for Dorr and Whitaker Architects, meets the requirements of the Town of Scituate zoning bylaw, section 770.6, site plan review standards of review to a degree consistent with reasonable use of the site proposed, permitted by the regulations of the district in which the land is located.
Thank you.
I think there are a couple little typos on
Go ahead.
page 2, where it starts the Scituate zoning bylaw, section 760.6, table of minimum parking requirements. That should be number 7.
Okay.
And then all the other numbers should be
Adjusted.
later.
Okay.
Okay.
On number 8, where it says stormwater in italics, I think maybe you meant that to refer to the stormwater management system will infiltrate water?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Management
Laura,
system,
on
yeah.
that same item, I would just clarify that when you say it will infiltrate water through 2 gravel wetlands, it's more accurate to say it will treat water.
Okay. Great, so we'll change that from infiltrate to treat. Okay, on the former number 9, which is now going to become number 10, the third line up from the end, it says, an erosion and sedimentation control plan will be used in comma soil. I think it should just say will be used and soil will be reused on the site
Okay.
in the vegetated berm, and that's all I had.
And on number 11 is September 8th, the latest revision date? I'm asking the folks up here. Is September 8th your latest revision date?
Yes.
Okay. Any comments?
I have a question. According to number 2, through the improved access response times for fire engines and ambulances will be significantly reduced. Will there be an ambulance in the new safety center? There will be. Will there be?
Yeah. The chief, yeah, I'm pretty sure it's an ambulance and then another truck.
Okay. Just a point of clarification. because then later on it says the potential for a second ambulance, and that could be construed as, we already have 2, would we be getting a third? So, that's all.
I think under response time, they're also reviewing the districts, right?
Again, that would be a fire department change on police.
That was my understanding. They were looking at the districts at the near point, because it may be, to avoid going down Manlot, it may be dispatched from the other station.
So
They're near the 2 stations, but it's...
is anything inaccurate that's said here?
No,
No.
absolutely not.
No.
Any other items? Or Bob, or Robert?
No.
I'll move as modified.
I'm sorry, I've got one.
Nope.
Yes.
Just on number 5, we're talking about setback. In addition to the residential setback, there was also the setback for Route 3A, for setback from the building, from the
Okay.
highway right-of-way line,
Okay.
which the project also meets, so just to clarify.
Greenbelt.
Okay.
So it meets the setback for Route 3A, is that what you're saying?
The residence
That was a
district
separate item
and
in the
Route
setback.
3A.
There's a 100-foot setback from there, right?
Okay.
Now can I move as modified?
You bet. Do we have a second?
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay,
We are almost there.
we're almost there. Andy, you need a break, or you go?
Oh, we'll just keep on going here.
Okay.
What's with all of these numbers? Okay. Do we need to read all that?
No, but that's not the, use this one.
Thanks. Oh, this is another one as of 5 PM this evening. We are right up to date. I move to approve the site plan for the public safety building consisting of permitting documents entitled Scituate Public Safety, including all sheets listed on the attachment, stamped and signed by Jennifer L. Johnson, P.E. of Niche Engineering, Fedor and Whittier Architects, Inc., subject to the following
You don't
conditions.
have it?
I don't have it on.
Hold on a second, we don't have that document up here.
Okay, well, okay.
Here it is.
Here it is.
If we had our iPads, we'd have it.
Yeah, if we had iPads.
Let's hear it.
Sounds like a sore point.
Just a point of information, that's all it is.
Really.
Just point of fact.
Great.
We could pay for them with the printing we paid on this project alone.
How many trees did we sacrifice? Okay,
All of them.
all of them. Number 1, the project will conform to the approved plans. Do you have the right one?
Oh, yeah, no.
I'll start again. 1, the project will conform to the approved plans listed above for the public safety building, the stormwater report, and a rendering provided by Stephen Haskell of Doran Whittier Architects, Inc. to the Planning Board on August 24th, 2015, except if bid alternatives are approved. The architectural plans, building footprint, and driveways may be adjusted for an additional sally port and/or fire truck bay as indicated by dashed lines on the plan. If the building footprint is modified, the applicant's engineer shall clarify the adequacy of the stormwater management system for the additional impervious surface area and shall submit updated analysis to the planning board demonstrating such adequacy. Materials used shall be of the type with the textures shown on the rendering. Any further changes from these plans other than to incorporate the conditions below will require approval of the planning board. 2, materials and details of construction including connection to town water and sewer systems, shall meet all requirements of the DPW, Board of Health, Fire Department, Conservation Commission, Building Department, and Commission on Disabilities. Where this site plan administrative review requires approval, permitting, or licensing from any local, state, or federal agency, such required approval, permitting, or licensing is deemed a condition of the Town of Scituate Planning Board's approval of this site plan. All necessary permits and approvals must be received prior to construction. 3, the building shall meet all the requirements of Massachusetts State Building Code. 4, approval of new curb cuts on Chief Justice Cushing Highway and Manlot Road must be obtained from the Mass DOT and the Scituate DPW respectively. 5, gasoline, chemical abrasives used for removal of snow and ice on roads, commercial fertilizers, fuel, oil, and other hazardous materials shall be stored in the utility building or other location outside the Water Resource Protection District to the greatest extent possible. If these must be stored within the Water Resource Protection District, they shall be kept in above-ground tanks or containment designed and operated as required by Scituate zoning bylaw, section 520.6. No road salt shall be stored on-site as required by the long-term pollution prevention plan. 6 reduced sets of 11 by 17 prints and PDFs shall be provided to the planning board prior to the pre-construction conference for distribution to town departments and for the files. Prior to scheduling the pre-construction conference, 7, the following items shall be added to the plans prior to the scheduling the pre-construction conference. Additional locations for snow storage to provide sufficient room for snow from major storms shall be shown on the plan and approved by the Conservation Commission and DPW. Seeded mixes shall be shown on the plans. Only herbaceous plants shall be grown in the rain garden. Prior to planting, 6 inches of loam shall be added to the berm. Temporary sediment sumps shall be located on the erosion and sediment control plan. Notes shall be added to the plan stating, all construction traffic shall enter the site via Route 3A to the entrance on Manlot Road.
Yeah, that was
Yep.
one that, was sort of a collaboration.
It's basically intended to say construction traffic shouldn't come up Country Way to Manlot Road to get into the site.
All right, and the
Should all come down 3A.
Okay, and the entrance is on Manlot Road?
I believe that's the construction
That's
entrance, right?
Not the 238 curb
Right.
cuts.
The lighting in the public parking lot shall be programmable as to on, off, and intensity. No vehicles shall be washed on the site. All plantings, vegetation, landscaping, and signage along the site frontage shall be kept low to the ground, no more than 3 feet above street level, or set back sufficiently from Route 3A and Manlot Road so as not to interfere with available sight lines. 8, the schedule and sequence of construction activities and final SWPPP plan shall be provided to the planning board office. Construction. 9, a pre-construction conference will be required prior to the start of construction, including a representative of the DPW, the Conservation and Natural Resources Office, the OPM or his representative, the site contractor, and the town planner. 10, any work within the right-of-way of Manlot Road shall be coordinated with the DPW. The DPW shall be notified prior to the start of work within the right-of-way of Manlot Road. Other than as required by this work, there shall be no parking or idling of vehicles on Manlot Road during construction. 11, stormwater control measures shall be maintained according to long-term pollution prevention plan and stormwater operation and maintenance plan dated July 29, 2015, submitted for the project and the stormwater pollution prevention plan. All clearing and earth-moving operations shall only occur while erosion and sedimentation control measures are in place. 12, a crushed stone construction entrance as detailed on the plans shall be required and installed prior to the start of work in any area. Water and sediment shall not be discharged into the subsurface infiltration areas, gravel wetlands, and rain garden until the site is fully stabilized. The town planner shall be notified when erosion control measures are in place, when construction begins, and when construction is completed. If deemed necessary by the town planner in consultation with the DPW engineering staff and the Conservation and Natural Resource Officer, temporary sedimentation basins, check dams, silt socks, or noise and dust control may be required in addition to the erosion control measures shown on the plan. All erosion control measures shall remain until the town planner determines that the danger of erosion or sedimentation no longer exists. 14, construction shall proceed according to the construction phasing plans. 15, construction work shall not begin prior to 7 a.m. on weekdays and 8 a.m. on Saturday, and shall cease no later than 7 p.m. or sunset, whichever is earlier. No construction shall take place on Sunday or legal holidays. After construction, 16, a set of as-built plans stamped and registered by a registered surveyor or a registered professional engineer. Do we want to say who designed the system?
And
We'll go back.
It should say, and reviewed.
And reviewed.
Right. By the registered professional engineer.
Thank you. Shall be submitted to the planning board within 10 days. Of completion of work. This plan shall include the construction conditions of the stormwater management system, grading, building, and driveways. The as-built plan must be submitted prior to obtaining a certificate of completion for the stormwater permit, and such plans must be found in compliance with the approved permit. All grading and landscaping must be complete prior to the as-built submittal. 17, prior to application for a certificate of occupancy, a copy of a contract for inspection and maintenance of stormwater structures per the post-construction operation and maintenance plan received September 2nd, 2015, shall be provided to the planning department. It's recommended that this maintenance be included in the police and fire department's annual budgets. Do we
Okay, we should
take
strike
that
that.
right out?
That's not a
No, that's not.
friendly one.
No, we'll just delete that. Number 18.
Try it on the next one.
Huh?
I'm going to try it on the next
All
one.
right. If signage identifying the building or providing public information other than for entrance and exit, directions, or safety purposes incorporated at a later stage of the project's design, it shall be reviewed by the DRC, Design Review Committee, and the Planning Board prior to application for a sign permit.
Okay, so do we have,
A couple little minor things.
go ahead.
See, on number 9, on the school, we did include review by the consulting engineer, inspections, by the consulting engineer, and, receiving a check for that prior to the pre-construction conference. So I think that's got to be.
So it's like
included here
8A?
somewhere. I think maybe 8, yeah.
And how will it read? Is it going to read the same as what we did with
It's going to
the...
read the same as what you did with the school. That a check for the inspections shall be provided by the peer review engineer, shall be provided to the planning department.
So the applicant?
By the applicant.
Right, okay.
And then, let's see, number 16, we have this, within 10 days of the completion of the work. We must have that on some standard condition, someplace that we've been using, but I think for this size project, maybe that's not realistic.
30 days, 60 days?
30 days?
Right.
Within 10 days?
Yeah.
I was a little concerned about that time frame, actually, even with the middle school, but.
I didn't think we had that on middle school. We do?
It did say 10 days.
Yikes.
Because usually they're
Okay, I
reviewed
wish
by
you
the
brought it
contractor.
up, because, they voted already.
So what's
an
Yeah,
appropriate
Don't worry
timeframe?
about it too much.
Right.
So do you think 30?
30 days might be more realistic.
Okay.
Okay. On that same item, Laura, in the second to last sentence, that should be plans plural. I think we used as-built, a set of as-built plans, so you should say the as-built plans.
Plans, sure, okay. Okay. And on number 17, there's that long-term pollution prevention plan, then there's the stormwater management plan. Maybe we want to say the stormwater management plan instead of the post-construction operation and maintenance plan. Or did you call it something different in that one?
Honestly, the full name is the Long-Term Pollution Prevention and Stormwater Operation and Maintenance Plan.
Okay.
It's a mouthful.
Post-construction works for me.
Yeah, most construction is fine.
What she said. Okay.
Yeah.
Anything, Ann, Bill? I had one item that I would just like to make sure we're clear on, and that's item 5. We seem to differentiate the methodology of storage between something that's within or outside the water resource pollution or protection district. And first of all, I don't remember how much of this is outside of that district. And second of all, if there's a line there, rather than have somebody identify where that line is and whether they should adopt certain storage methodologies versus another, we ought to adopt the most conservative, given that we're not only in the protection district, but we're also in the Zone 2 area. So I guess I'm suggesting we change this to say that all the storage will be in accordance with, shall be kept in above-ground storage tanks or containers designed and operated as required by the bylaw.
Okay, so something like storage in any location.
Right. Does that work with you guys?
So you would just
Yeah, it makes-
strike the first phrase of that sentence after the semicolon. In other words, it would say location outside the water protection district to the greatest extent possible, semicolon.
Right.
These must be, no,
All storage,
all storage
right, shall be kept.
shall be kept.
Right. I think it's right.
Yeah.
Just minor point, instead of stored in the utility building, should say a utility building or other location outside, because we don't have a utility building.
Oh, I assumed that was on the drawing that way.
No, that's,
Oh, okay, that's the future.
Future location.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, A, and small u, small b then, huh? There's no, okay.
We have two other small things. Under number 1, if the building footprint is modified, the applicant's engineer shall certify the adequacy of the stormwater management system for the additional impervious area. All of our design has already incorporated all future impervious area, so that's what the approved design is for.
It's for the 3 bays rather than...
If it's
just the two.
modified in accordance with the drawing, but if it's modified some other way. So basically, you're saying, it's saying if the building footprint is
It's
modified,
already compensating your calculations.
for the original design.
Sort of designed in as if those pieces.
The alternates are accepted.
if the alternates are accepted, but if you change the footprint other than that,
Well, they'd have to come
Right.
back to the
They'd have to come
planning board
back,
anyway.
Rather than the...
Right.
Yep.
That's true. I guess it was a little
Since
confusing,
this
because
is a
you're leading
little-
with the discussion of the alternates.
Right.
So I just wanted it to be clear that the alternates have been incorporated, but you're right, if the other work...
Correct.
Is it a little ambiguous?
is modified other than the alternate, or something like
Maybe
that,
it
right?
says something, something similar for the school, like if you had additional impervious area, you have to come back. I think it was just more...
I don't think we did, because this one looked more likely that you would because of, just because of the 3-bay, 2-bay, and the other thing.
Yeah.
That's what we're
So,
already designed for.
yeah, so maybe that needs to just come out, because it's a little ambiguous. How do people feel about that?
Yeah, as long as it's consistent with what's already been designed. But if somebody comes back in and obviously changes that, then they'd have to come back in.
They have to come back to you anyway if they
Right.
make changes beyond, beyond the bid alternates.
Right, it's really if anything wasn't covered in the drawing set, because all of those are captured, all alternates are captured in the set, so if it's
Yeah.
something beyond the...
So if the alternate is bid and you accept it, nothing will change on the drawing that's already there, or would the alternate potentially change the footprint a little bit one way or another?
No.
No.
Well, the footprint and paving will change, but what
I
happens
mean,
is...
beyond what they've already analyzed is what I'm saying.
Right, yeah, exactly. It's already been compensated
Right.
for in the stormwater.
So nobody's
design.
going to come in with an alternate to say, I can give you 2 more bays and that kind of thing.
I don't think so.
2 bays for the price of 1.
I think not.
then they will.
then it's probably,
That's right.
as long as we
We didn't find that check.
have an opportunity to pull them back in, if something really changes, then I would
which
say
we do.
we just take it out, right?
You could just insert the word further, if the building footprint is further modified.
Well, maybe it's a little ambiguous and maybe, yeah, if it's a little confusing, maybe it should just, go.
So you take one out entirely?
Yeah. I think
No,
that's-
not entirely, just that middle sentence, if the
Okay.
building footprint is modified, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dash lines on a plan, okay.
Yeah.
And for number 2, for the utility connections, it says and sewer systems, but we're not connected to. municipal sewers, so
okay,
that's-
sorry about that.
Yes, thought about it.
would stay.
Okay, yep.
Okay. Anything else? Okay.
I will move it's finally modified.
We have a
Second.
We have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, you guys are all set. Thank you. Thanks for your work.
Go build the berm.
Yeah.
Keep the berm low as you can.
Can you give it away?
I might need some of it.
Maybe you can sell it, it's all on the corner. Come pick it up.
Okay, look at that, 10 o'clock.
I am impressed.
Really? Great job.
Okay, accounting, do we have any accounting to deal with?
Can we throw this away?
Just about what he's on.
This? My turn? Why? Do the whole thing. Well, what am I reading? Just tell me.
Just move to approve
WB Mason.
payment of
Sure.
$85.23 to WB Mason for office supplies.
Could have addressed it, but at least.
All right, moved.
Okay, we're continuing on, so just, sorry about that.
All right, move to approve $85.23 payable to WB Mason Company, Inc. for office supplies.
Is that the only one?
That's it?
Nope, I think this, yeah, is it? That's it.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, minutes, do you have any minutes? No minutes?
No, didn't,
Any liaison reports?
Yeah, EDC is going great guns with their, there's a boat,
10 different things.
10 different, umpteen different things. Signage, we're going forward with signage, we're going forward with
New England Boat.
New England Boat, as a matter of fact,
With what?
New England Boat. It's a magazine.
Oh, okay, yeah, right, you mentioned that before.
Right, and the program will be on Nessun at half an hour, Monday, the 5th of October at 6:30 on Nessun. That is showcasing Scituate and a boating community. So, and there are magazines in the planning office if you want to stop by and pick one up.
Nessun. New England
Nessun,
Sports Gallery.
yes.
Okay, that's cool.
6:30.
6:30, and if you want to go have a beer at TK's and watch the whole enchilada, you're welcome to do it.
Oh, yeah, there's a kickoff.
Yes, there's a kickoff. New England Boating, HGTV, Nessun, October 5th from 5:30 to 8:30 p.m., the Season 3 premiere of New England Boating TV, featuring Scituate, Massachusetts.
Cool.
So there you have it.
any Red Sox
Great.
games.
When you're up on the highway, you don't know how to get here.
I know, and if you are up on the highway, you have no clue.
yeah. No, I think they're all done by then. They're all done already, but.
Any other liaison reports?
EDC. Oh, Commission, CPC,
Yeah.
they're still figuring out where they're going and how they're going to get there. And Lisa Fenton and signage and whatever, and Matt Brown was there. I'm not really sure. You know, I'm brand new to this committee, so I'm getting my feet wet.
Well, lean on the expert.
Yeah, I can tell you where the turmoil came from.
Okay,
Great.
so
Well,
that's,
we look forward to further updates.
you'll get them.
Clarifications.
And modifications?
Clarifications.
What am I clarifying?
Find out.
Can I second Bob's motion?
I just wanted to let everybody know that the selectmen did vote to refer the microbrewery article to
Yes.
the planning board.
Yeah.
So Ross Elder is going to be coming in to have an informal chat with you all at the next meeting, and then the public hearing will be on October 27th. So we'll put out the word to anyone we think may be interested in a microbrewery. You know, people that are have that certain look that they'd enjoy.
I might have to recuse myself.
It was really a very interesting presentation at the Board of Selectmen.
Oh, look forward to it.
Yeah.
So do we have a second for Bob's motion now?
I second.
Okay, all's in favor?
Aye.
We're adjourned.
Your microbrewery stuff was in your folder.
Yes.